Okay, I'm in my parlor, so I'm gonna talk about my parlor guitars. Parlor guitar is a term used nowadays kind of willy-nilly. Uh, Basically refers to a smaller guitar than your average jumbo acoustic, which is most popular. These small guitars are gaining in popularity again. Uh, and I say again because this one right here is what most would call a parlor guitar. It's small, it's comfy, you can sit on a couch with it. Uh, this one happens to be classical nylon string. Uh, and this one was made over 100 years ago. This is a 19th century guitar made in either Germany or Vienna. At the time it was made, there was little distinction between Germany and Vienna, so it gets a little confusing. The giveaways are the cut of the neck as well as the shape of the body. Uh, we know it's European, and although you can see this trying to get it up close, but there is a fret in front of the bridge. European luthiers uh, would put a fret there instead of relying on the bridge. Gave it a much uh, cleaner tone with an open string on metal instead of the bone. Uh, and this being 100 years old, still has a nice tone. I'm not good at finger picking. It has a small neck, which is not really typical nowadays on classical guitars. Uh, and it's a little difficult uh, to get used to that thinner neck unless you're a electric guitar player, maybe. Uh, but it has a nice full sound to it. It was made back in the days before amplifiers, and this was your sit around in a small parlor and play. Uh, this one has been reinforced. I can't really get the picture, but right here there's a piece of wood inserted just to support the soundboard, uh, and the bridge from buckling with modern nylon and brass wound nylon strings. Originally, these would have been all gut back in the day, uh, but this is reinforced, so one thing I did notice, now these nylon strings have been on here for a few years and it's been hanging like this. And a strange thing about nylon is you don't want to store it standing up. You want to store it, the guitar, laying down. Reason being that nylon has a genuine tendency to, I won't say drip because that's not the right word, but it will get imperfections. And this one on the third string, this string is thicker down here than it is up here, which is a problem with intonation. This needs new strings. I can demonstrate that by, there's the harmonic in tune, harmonic in tune, harmonic way out of tune. That's because the thickness of this string has changed with time. It's no longer even. So we're not getting a proper intonation. But for over 100 years old, still sounds nice, playable. Probably be able to play this and have fun with it for another 100 years. So that's all I got to say about this little antique. And this is not properly called a parlor guitar. It's a term we use nowadays. We use the terms parlor guitar, or small guitar, travel guitar, blah, 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 for all of these things. Properly, this is referred to as a romantic classical guitar. That's just the proper name for what it is. And this one, 100 years old, made in one of the Germanic states. They didn't label them. Most of the makers back then didn't put any makes on them. They were all individual luthiers all over the place. Didn't label them. So that's it for this one. Let's go on to the next. This one is a Guild Jim Dandy. It's a reissue of their parlor guitar, which is what they called it, a parlor guitar at that time, of the pre-war era, 20s, 30s, and 40s. These were really popular, and this is a reissue. It is basically the same as the issue then, including the uncovered tuners, which they could have slapped on some decent, shouldn't say decent, they're all fairly decent, but they could have put on some, enclosed tuners and everything. But that's not the way they were made back then, and they tried to keep it as close to the original as possible. And this is a really neat sounding little guitar, great parlor, sit on the couch, and that's what we usually mean by parlor guitars. Small, comfy, you can sit on the couch and knock around. And this one really projects a lot more than the 19th century one I just did. Not because it's newer, it's because this is steel string. Never going to compete. The nylon string will never compete with the steel strings for loudness. But they have a tone all of their own, so don't disregard nylon string guitars. This one is I suck at finger picking, but give you an idea of, you can strum it, you can pick it, and just finger picking, it's a fairly loud guitar. It has a nice feel to it. The neck is not really that thick. It's not as narrow as that 19th century one, but I like that because I got fat little fingers. And that's the Gibson Jim Dandy. I think it's the least expensive Gibson you can buy nowadays. This was, I think, around 150 bucks. Uh, and I think that's really well spent. Uh, Not just because it's, Gibson name or anything, or I shouldn't say Gibson, pardon me, it's a Gretsch. Uh, and Here you can see it's a Gretsch. Uh, Cheapest Gretsch you can possibly buy, and it's a really fine guitar. Uh, has really nice tone. Uh, and as far as loudness, playability, and everything, even though it's small size, uh, I'd stack this up against the Dreadnought. Uh, Maybe a little higher tonal qualities in a Dreadnought, a little more body, but hey, for knocking around, having fun. And this is the one I will be taking on a train trip across the country. And just pretend it's 1930. Travel across the country, playing on a guitar. What could be better? Okay. This next one is a JJ, called it a travel guitar. I picked this one up a few years ago because it was the only one that would fit in my Corvette. So I wanted to go somewhere and take the guitar with me, take the Corvette. I had little choice on what to take. And you can see there's, looks like imitation Grovers on it. I think this one I paid $100 for, maybe less. But it's a nice little guitar. That was my fault, not the guitars. This is a little crispier, has a more high frequency to it than the Gretsch did. Some of that is because this is a lacquer finish. The Gretsch is a satin finish. The finish on an acoustic can change the whole tone of a guitar. But it's about the same size, and it's a fun little guitar. And it's a little out of tune. But there you go. This is what they called a traveling size guitar. And throw it right in there with the Parlor Guitars. Why? It's easy to sit down and just sit in the parlor and play. Take it to a little coffee house and knock around, whatever. But another little parlor. Now this next one is little string. Uh, this is a little larger than the other ones. It's not a full dreadnought. Uh, and it's a little unusual in that it is laid out like a classical guitar. Has a wide neck. Uh, I don't even know when this was made, probably within the last 20 years or so. Uh, but it's a steel string guitar, but it has the feel of, when you hold it, of a modern classical. Uh, uh, has a fairly wide bridge, which, like I said, for my fat fingers, I really like. And I picked this up at a yard sale about 5 years ago for 50 bucks. Still in its soft bag. The guy never played it. He got it. He wanted to learn to play guitar, so he bought a used one. Uh, and it's really in excellent shape. Uh, and I have no idea who made it, where it came from, but I really like the tone of it. It's really nice lacquer top. Uh, have no idea what the woods are, and to me, I go by the sound of what I like, not what woods are made in it. So, and there you have it. Yard sale, $50 guitar. Uh, Actually, one of my favorites. Uh, so we're on to the next one. And let's see if this is in tune. Okay, now, I'm going to let you listen to this one. And this again is a little bigger than what the first three were, but it's still not a dreadnought. Uh, and I'll explain that after I show this to you and let you hear it. But this has a really nice sound, really nice playability. It has body. It doesn't have that I don't know what to call it, the tone that comes with a lacquer finish. This is just a matte finish. Uh, it doesn't have that higher harmonics, I guess you'd call them, that you get with a lacquer. Uh, you get a more full-bodied sound from it without the lacquer. You hear the wood resonating, basically. But I like the tone of this one. And I have done some and I'm trying to give you a flavor of my crappy playing, just so you can hear the difference between all of these. And this one doesn't have a lot of those high frequencies that you probably heard on the first three smaller ones. The smaller the body, the higher the frequency range is going to be in it. That's just physics. And now for the great reveal on what this is. I don't know if you're watching or zoomed in. It's a 1992 made in USA Martin. Okay. And I really like it, but I didn't pay an arm and a leg for it. I like the tone, I like the sound, beautiful guitar, but I'm not going to tell you what I paid for this because you'll all cry and call me a thief. But if it was more expensive than I paid for it, I would not own a Martin. Nothing against Martins, beautiful guitars, but I listened for tone. And all the guitars that I showed you, they all have their different characters. There's something I like about all of them. They fit different types of music that I like to play, different situations. So I'm not going to say this is better than all the others and that one's junk, this, that. They're all great. They're all playable. They all sound nice. And they're all comfortable little things. And this is a triple O, which is small in the Martin guitar things, not a big dreadnought. And it's a wonderful little guitar. And I would throw this into the class with Parlor Guitars. It's small. You can sit back on the couch, comfortably play. If you sit up on the couch like this, you're not getting that big dreadnought body shoved under your arm. You can just have some fun with it and entertain yourself, entertain guests, take to a coffee house, have some fun. And that wraps it up for my Parlor Guitar extravaganza here. And I hope you got a little something out of this vid. I just wanted to do this because there is so much talk and popularity about Parlor Guitars now that I thought I'd share the 5 that I have and give you an example of a whole range of different Parlor guitars. And the thing to keep in mind with a Parlor guitar is it's not a stage guitar. It's a personal item. It's a thing that you're really just, hanging out with friends in a small coffee house, no amplifiers, just hanging out, and you're just having fun. That's what's great about these. Okay? So that wraps it up. Thanks for watching. And keep on picking, buddies.